mines, where they would also store valuable items to use in the afterlife. They also began writing in the form of hieroglyphic texts and images in stone and on their new writing method, papyrus, better known as the first form of paper, created from the sugarcanes growing across their long stretching rivers. There was even honey made. With all these people and resources, trading became very common, with the use of wheat as payments and markets across the village. But that was all about to change with the finding of one precious metal which was hidden deep down in their minds: gold. Gold became the new currency between villagers, boosting trade to a whole new level. Traders made their first appearance using llamas for carrying goods over long distances between different villages, making connections and creating the first societies. Back to where we began, glass has just been made out of sand to create bottles for better storage of water, honey and later on potions. It didn't have that much of an impact though, because villagers still lived in the Stone Age, using stone tools, not able to do the things they're capable of doing today. But that was about to change. After more mining, iron had just been found, which led the world into the Iron Age. Finally, there were some decent tools for making stone houses and bigger projects. The clay huts slowly disappeared and were turned into houses made out of cobblestone, hardened clay, glass windows and wooden planks. Something green and shiny had just been found in the mines. It was so beautiful. Villagers would even prefer it over gold to use it as their new currency. It was so popular that every villager started mining some emeralds for themselves or trading it with their own goods. The reason for this insane demand is unknown, but it could have something to do with the eye color of villagers, which is green as well. This made emeralds the most rare ore in Minecraft, only to be found in mountain biomes today, because villagers never went there. Oh, and they also found some blue stuff, but they didn't care that much about lapis lazuli. Meanwhile, a lot of villagers were farmers. A couple were building houses or mining, but all of these new inventions came also with a lot of new jobs. Libraries were built for education. Potion makers were trying out all sorts of recipes, and the blast furnace created blacksmiths. They even learned to build farms away from the river by creating canals besides the farmlands, making it possible to make new villages away from rivers and making it look more like the villages of today. Everything went well because there was no war, there were no thieves or crimes due to the peaceful nature of villagers. They all lived together in harmony, creating bigger communities and even bigger villages. They didn't know that one mistake would change that forever. 115 years before you spawned in the world, potion makers experimented with some new ingredients, not knowing what it would do to them. For safety, it was tested on one villager to see if it would do something useful and if there were any side effects. But it did nothing. No effects were observed physically or mentally by the potion makers and by asking the villager. There was no point of testing anymore because they thought that nothing could go wrong. So the experiment got cancelled. But oh, how wrong they were with that. 1 year later, things began to change. Emeralds were missing. It didn't make much sense, because this never really happened before. Not all, but there were too many missing. It couldn't be a coincidence. It couldn't be the dumb fault of everyone just losing them in their houses. Was it the work of the gods? Was there anything they did wrong to deserve this? Was their greed of emeralds grown so much that they were taken from them? They didn't know, but at this point, everyone was on alert mode. Weeks went by without any traces or signs of what happened. It was still a mystery until it happened again. More emeralds were missing, but this time they saw what happened. It turned out that a group of villagers began stealing, something nobody had ever done before. Did their greed for emeralds grow so much that they would even steal for it? The villagers didn't have a single clue on what to do next, only taking the emeralds back with a warning, locking them up, or even banning them from the village. They chose to only take back the emeralds and gave them a warning, in the hope they would learn from their mistakes. But it got worse. More villagers began stealing. It looked like this behavior was spreading across the communities like a disease. And stealing was just the beginning. Things became more and more violent. They began creating groups and started fighting. One of the villagers became so harmful, the only option would be to lock him up. And to much surprise, it was the original villager from the cancelled experiment. It turned out it wasn't the greed that had grown. It was the evil inside them that grew over time, which made them steal, and now turned to violence. This villager was exposed the longest to the disease, which made him the most dangerous. It wasn't sure if the others would become this violent, because they weren't exposed directly to the potion more than a year ago. Only time could tell. 4 years after the experiment, all chaos broke loose. Half of the villager population became involved in crimes, and signs of the disease became more clear. Their skins became paler and their